Hi, I'm the man on the mic.
And I'm the guy on the bike.
And we're getting very excited for new beginnings as we bring on a new sponsor, Rich. It's the new sponsor episode.
We're so excited. We've got video. I mean,
I know I've never done this before. It's a bit weird looking at each other, isn't it, mate?
it is. We're saying that and we're recording audio as well. So there's always a chance that it goes belly up and people are actually only listening to audio and they're now thinking, what are those Wally's talking about?
Yeah, but to be honest with you, Rich, let's be honest. Don't we prefer the audio only version? I mean, you were blessed with good looks, but I was blessed with absolutely no hair. So
you were. Well, I was going to say you weren't born like that, but I assume you were.
And I was.
It came and went, like it does for everybody, but just some people it goes sooner.
For those that haven't seen the very bald head, I blame it on the 80s, Richard, and what I call substance abuse. Not the kind of substance you're thinking of.
Where are we going here?
Here we go. Don't panic. The substance that goes on the head, things like bleach, crimpers, perms. Yes, I know.
Now we're doing video. You'll have to hold up some pictures of previous Fisher hairstyles. We'd love to see.
I had the full mullet, mate. I had the whole Kajagoogoo thing going on. So nice. I'm one of those lucky people that feels like he looks better in his 50s than he did in his 20s. That's all I'm going to say.
Aging well.
Anyway, the new sponsor episode. Tell me all about it, because I don't know anything about this, really.
Well, no, we've alluded to
under your hat. You've kept it under your hat, quite literally. And I want to know more.
Well, yeah, we kept it under the hat, as you say, and that's because bit of an embargo and some to align with some activities that the new sponsor was doing this week. So it's a big thing for them. And Dave from DSN Busby is going to be joining us later in the pod, isn't he? So I'll not steal his thunder too much. But I thought we would struggle this year and for a few years afterwards for finding a major sponsor. Yes. So it was when Dave got in touch, it was massively warmly received, and I think it's a great partnership.
And tell me what difference it makes. I mean, I know obviously financially it can help, but what actual difference does it make to you guys when you've got a sponsor like this?
Well, it's we had Altura in the beginning, and we went from being very small, and that was a fundamental part to becoming quite big. And if you haven't listened to the episode 1, part 1, how it all began. And I think we'll come back to that in a future pod because it is an interesting story. But
it is interesting, and it seems such a long time ago when we were talking about that. But it
does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like you say, Altura did make a difference right at the beginning, and then of course you had Primal in as well.
Yeah.
Go on.
And I think at the beginning it ticked a big box. So there was loads of sportive companies around then, different organisers, and to be associated with what was then a big brand and Primal equally so, it sort of it added kudos and credit, and so as well as the support that they gave, I think we were most excited about that. But then we've grown, and so now the sort of partnerships we look for are a little bit different, and we want people who sort of add to the brand of Velo29, understand what we do, and it's not shameful marketing. It's people who they actually are going to bring something to the party, and DSN Busby absolutely do that. I think it's going to be a really great partnership.
So we'll chat with them in a bit, but from your perspective, what is it that they're going to bring to the party from your angle?
Well, people who don't know, and they'll be finding out a lot over the next few weeks as we sort of roll this out. But Busby is a safety app, and we've done all sorts of different things with safety during our events and how the participants contact us when they need to during the event, and how they get help from other people, that kind of thing. And Busby is exactly that. It's that for everyday riding, but it can work in our events as well. So we think that's
going to add to your infrastructure on the sportives themselves.
We'll use it during the events, and I think that's sort of where it ties in largely, because people will experience that during the ride and they'll learn about it. We don't force things upon people, but you'd be daft not to use it. And and then they can go away on their weekend rides and other things. And it's one of those, it needs a large percentage, or it needs a decent percentage of the riding population to use it to be super effective. So that's where it's going. But yeah, it's going to add value to what we do.
And how does the app work specifically for you as a cyclist?
Well, they use something called Busby flares. So it's you get into difficulty, and that can be medical, mechanical, lost, anything really, and you send out a flare, and it'll contact other Busby users who are within a certain radius and alert them to your cry for help, I suppose. And it can be just like, I've taken a wrong turn, I've come to a lock gate, somebody help me out, and somebody, oh yeah, I can see, I know that, I've got local knowledge, turn around, do 1 kilometer and go right. Or it can be, right, this person's in a medical mess, and I'm going to be there in a minute. Great, I'll divert and I'll help them out. It detects crashes as well.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, because I've been in a number of situations, either personally or in an event where, an incident like that has occurred, and the people have been lucky that somebody nearby has either been a doctor, or I had a friend who had a heart attack on a solo ride on his own. But there happened to be a firefighter nearby who came to him and revived him, and his heart had stopped. Wow. But you don't want to rely on that, and the fact that you've got, this safety net, so to speak, where, you are aware that there can be other people around that can help. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, believe in it, and we wouldn't have got involved if we didn't. And I'd like to think, we know our stuff, so us being involved is probably, I hope, is a tick in the box for Busby. And it has, I was just going to say, it has a crash detection feature as well. So smartphones are clever things these days. It will detect what has the appearance of a crash. It'll ask you to intervene if it's not a crash, and if you don't intervene, it'll send out a 999 flare as well. And
oh wow!
So I think it's something that could save lives, as well as.
And then there's the DSN side as well.
Discount Sport Network.
Yeah, which sounds fascinating. Tell me a little bit more about that.
They basically it's access to discounts. So Dave and the guys engage with companies like Nike, Oakley, all kinds of different things. They have a cycling and a running element to it, and they're gaining more. And you get discounts just by being a member. You can either be a free member and you get a level of discount, or you can be a paid member and get a greater level of discount. And I was checking it out myself yesterday, and I saw 20% off Oakley. That's £150 pair of glasses, 30 quid off. That's the kind of thing they do. So there's that element of it too. So they're going to be at the events. They're going to be getting you helping you sign up and understand what it's all about and how to use the applications and stuff. And just the cool guys. I get on really well with Dave. Only met him. Well, I haven't actually met him. I'm going to see him for the first time shortly. But now I think there'll be a good addition to actually being there on the day as well.
And that's what I like to hear, because it's not just about a kind of silent partner, and somebody who puts their name on the poster, so to speak, but you never find out any more. And I know me and you work very much like we create a working relationship and then we develop from there, and that's really important, isn't it?
Well, yeah, when we first started doing the pod, you were asking me sort of what angle do we want to take on it, and I said, well, I think if it sounds like us two having a chat, I think it'll work, because I think we've both got interesting things to say. You've got clearly the background of this kind of thing I didn't have, and you guide me through and keep an eye on the time and the production and all that kind of thing. But really, we have said we could just record us having a chat, and it wouldn't be dramatically different, would it? It's
it really
so
wouldn't.
That is important. So yeah, when people want to get involved with us, we sort of have that kind of,
The only difference would be you talking about your kid and me talking about my back playing up all the time. But other than that,
yeah,
we'll have to do that episode. Maybe not. But yeah, no. Episode. And that's what you want with the sponsor. You want that working friendship. You want that kind of, it's good for me, it's good for you. We're both happy. Everybody's benefiting from this, and it creates a good vibe at the events as well.
Totally. Yeah. We always work on that. send people away happy, and that's largely why we do the beer and the hot dog at the finish. It's send them away fed and watered. They'll be smiling and they'll come back. And so, if I thought it was going to be some irritating salesman stood at the finish line ramming something down your throat, they wouldn't be involved, and that's for sure. So we're always cautious with that kind of thing, and
that comes into it, doesn't it? Because it's not just about what works product wise, but it's what works within that culture. Because you are a front facing company that want to keep your people happy, and you want a similar vibe from whoever's sponsoring, don't you?
Oh yeah, they'll stop coming if it doesn't fit, won't they? So, and we're not in a position where we have to have a sponsor. It's people who we can pick and choose. And so yeah, it's delighted, and we'll hear from Dave in a bit, won't we? And
great, excellent, good.
The goat. We should do the goat. We missed the goat last week.
We missed the goat last week. Does that mean we have to do 2 goats, or are we just going to do one amazing goat today? By the way, for those of you listeners, watchers that are wondering what the goat is, it's nothing to do with my beard. It is to do with the greatest of all time. And I'm a little bit vague when it comes to some of these riders, but I know that Rich is steeped in this kind of stuff. So who is our goat today, Rich?
So this week's goat is the Modeling Abdu Japarov, the Tashkent Terror, or Abdu, or whatever you want to call him. He had many guises, and so harking back to my era again, early 90s. I think that's probably the last time. Era. It is my era, yeah. And the last chance in my life I got to watch cycling properly, I think. So that's maybe why. But Abdu was a really little guy. He was an unbelievable sprinter. He's infamous for his crash on the Champs-Élysées, where a policeman stepped out to take a picture of him and brought him down within I think it must have been just over the kilometre, because they had to pick him up and take him over the finish line. And I think that would have been his 6th win that Tour de France. He wore the green jersey. He was just an unbelievable sprinter, but he was super dangerous. So and in today's environment, it very much wasn't ballet for Abdu Japarov, and he was elbows, he was head down, he was all over the road. Despite being however small he was on. Well, everyone only had 52 12s then, maybe 53s, but there was no 11 sprockets, and so he was on the 12 head down. And he was just so quick, and if you were going to beat him, you'd probably knock you off anyway. So he was a generation sprinter that can't exist anymore. We've seen Cav pull some interesting stunts towards the finish line, haven't we? But nothing compared to Abdu Japarov. He was something special, and paid the price as well with his time spent on the deck.
Yeah, and like you said, a rider like that just wouldn't exist in races these days, because they'd either just not taken on because they were too aggressive by the teams, or they would just be constantly disqualified,
permanently banned. First stage of every tour, he'd be sent home, wouldn't he? But,
so what's your feeling on that? I mean, does that disappoint you that kind of aggressive cycling is no longer allowed, or is that actually probably the right thing to do?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, I don't like it when sport becomes more boring, and you could easily say that removing things like dangerous sprinting is making it more boring. But then you can easily, the flip side of that is somebody seriously injured lying on the deck, or somebody taking a risk that other people are not prepared to take, or shouldn't take, and benefiting from that. So it's a really fine line to walk, isn't it? And I think sports sort of sway a bit more cautious. That didn't really work in. Let's be less cautious. Something went wrong. And I think what I don't like about it is a sort of the knee jerk when something goes wrong.
Yes,
we must make it more safe. And in
have
reality,
to be that aspect. But like you say, sometimes you jump too quickly and lose the heart of the event.
Yeah. we've got, back in, even in the 90s, you didn't really have a good image from a helicopter flying over the finish line. So it was purely based on what the commissaire could see, and that's really hard, especially at the finish, bunch sprint, 60 k's an hour down the Champs-Elysees, standing out the roof of a Fiat, trying to watch what's going on. It's dead hard. But today they've got a helicopter flying over the top of the finish line, and you can see everything in Ultra HD, and you can spend hours watching back. So you give yourself the opportunity to do all of that kind of thing. Yeah. But it doesn't always help, and like VAR in football is a prime example of that coming into play.
Absolutely, and he's trying to get that balance between. I mean, you see it in Formula One, you see it in all sorts of sport, that you've got to get that balance between what's exciting, what's safe, what works for the participants, what works for the audience. It is a fine balance, really, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And cycling's a sport that it lives off those moments, doesn't it? It's because I'm not going to say it's boring to watch, but we have something like the Tour de France, and you have 21 days of 6 hours, and a large element of that is a procession through a very beautiful France, with great parts in it, and those great parts are what makes it so successful, and we need. And when you start chopping into them, then you risk it becoming a procession through beautiful France, and whilst that's nice, it's not going to be the biggest annual sporting event in the world, is it? So you do need to be very cautious.
Getting that balance. Well, I'm excited to meet Dave and find out more about your sponsor, but I'm also interested in how things are going with Velo29 and the bookings for next year. Do you want to do that before we chat to Dave, or after? How do you want to do that?
Well, we can cover it now, I think.
Let's do it. So, where are you at?
Still really good. We touched on it last week, didn't we? Around the new event, the 3 days in Yorkshire.
How's that looking?
It's almost sold out.
Wow.
Yeah. We've never. I mean, we've limited it to 200. I'd love to be able to offer more, but there's so many bespoke elements to the event. We said last week about the time trial. So we've been designing the start ramp, and I was looking back.
Excited.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was looking back through like loads of different Tour of Britain start ramp, and the one that we used at Stockton actually, which we don't have anymore, hence designing a new one. And there's so much you can do with it. It's really exciting. Maybe it's only me who feels that excitement, but
no. That sounds great.
I saw one that they'd used. I think it was only in last year's tour, and they didn't use it initially, where they had a screen on above the where the riders would roll through, and it had a picture. So at the beginning of the tour now, everyone has to stand like this with a side profile, and they get that really. So we could get riders to submit a picture, optional, and we could put that up on the screen when they were starting with the name. So when we've got the cameraman, he's on his knees at the bottom of the ramp looking up. You see the rider's picture and then the name. Just stuff like that.
Nice.
This is the experience.
That makes it easy for us commentators as well. I can tell you. It really
it saves you having to ask the poor guy's name as he. Yeah. When you're commentating on elites and you see Mark Cavendish come up, you know him, don't you? When we're commenting on sportive riders, it's with respect a little bit harder.
With respect. Not a clue. Yeah.
But yeah, these are the things that make the experience, I think. And so we're exploring all of that kind of thing. People getting in touch asking about camping, glamping, etc. So we're not. We've almost got the details sorted, but we don't. We're gauging the popularity of the event. Yeah. So that'll be getting rolled out in the next few weeks. I actually need to get down there, and they're closed, obviously, like everyone is / should be. So go and have a look and work out how many tents and teepees we can fit in and all that kind of thing. So
now the Beast and other sportives are selling out or sold out. Is that right?
Checked this morning. We've got 6 places left at the Beast.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you're planning on riding the Beast,
you better be quick.
You better be. The Beast is ready. He's hungry and he's ready to go. So
he's ready to go. Excellent.
You better bring it. And same with York Leeds York, Tour of the Peak, all of those events.
Cheshire Cat.
The Cheshire Cat, we're going to have to. So I've been holding back on talking about that, but as you ask,
go on then.
So we had this year for the cancelled event 1,100 people. Now, some of those have had refunds, they've entered something else. So we're at about 900 still. Now it might change, but we're expecting that the limit on any spot, especially as early as March, is going to be 600 people.
600, yeah.
So what do? We're the last people to say, I'm sorry you entered after that guy, so you're not riding. So we're going to do 2 days of the Cheshire Cat. So we're going to do Saturday, 600 riders, Sunday, 600 riders. Okay. Choose which one you want to do. Now, if everybody chooses Sunday, clearly we've got a problem. So we're going to have to manage that. But I would hope that, for a lot of people, Saturday appeals. I know I like my Sunday lunch. I like to see the family on a Sunday. So I'd rather do a spot on a Saturday. Some people work Saturdays, go to football, whatever, So hopefully sort itself out that way.
Even it out, yeah.
Even out. So we've closed the Cheshire Cat because until we've sorted all that out, we don't think it's fair to take new entrants. If you enter our iconic package, which only maybe 150 people do, you can get entry to the Cat that way, because that's something that's really important to people, and so we'll make space for those guys. But yeah, that's the Cheshire Cat. So it's going to be a 2-day event next year, which I think actually will work with, because it's our most popular event, but logistically it doesn't lend itself to being our biggest event, and we get so much local grief from blocking the roads, closing Malcop, the feed stations. You just can't. It's just almost impossible to cope. So I think that actually it's a good move, and people will enjoy it, maybe in a slightly different way, but I think it'll be good. So yeah, that's it.
Great.
Shall we go to Dave, who's about to join us?
I'd love to. That'd be brilliant. Somebody else on screen with us now, Rich. And hello, Dave. How are you, mate? This is Dave from DSN Busby. Was it Busby DSN? Which way do we say it?
Oh, good question.
First question in.
We tend to, even though I run Discount Sports Network, we tend to lead with Busby because it's the safety side of what we do and what we promote. So we lead with the safety because it's the most important piece.
Okay, so we lead with the safety. So it's Busby DSN. And with me and Rich, before you came on, kind of chatted a little bit about what that looks like and the kind of partnership that we're looking forward to with Velo29. But what does it look like to you? Why did you approach Rich, and why get Velo29 involved?
It was a real simple one for us, actually. So we sat down as the leadership team of DSN, the leadership team of Busby, and said, look, we want to engage with cyclists. We want to engage with people doing the events. What should we look at? And unanimously went Velo29. People that work for Busby, people that work for me, including myself, we've ridden in these sportives, and they're just so well organized, and people really enjoy them, and they're competitive, but not overly competitive. So you get to engage with people while you're out riding, and that's what we're about. So yeah, it was a no-brainer.
Oh, fantastic. And what do you think, you bring to each other with regards to kind of brands and companies?
Yeah, so it's a simple one really for us, because I started a business about 3 years ago, and I'd been sort of playing sort of semi-professional rugby, standard story, injured myself. Cycling's the only thing you can do. It's low impact.
Yeah.
But man, did I find it expensive as a hobby. And so I kind of went about setting up this kind of network of cyclists where I could go out to brands and negotiate exclusive discounts for our core cycling network. And it kind of grew into this beast of, I want to get as many people cycling, as many people enjoying it as much as I have, because I'd never even looked at it. They were the annoyance on the road for me. And then it became like, no, I want this. I want to be part of this gang. And we met Busby, who had created this amazing product that keeps cyclists safe, and it's an incident protection product, so that if you're out on a solo ride and you fall off and you fall in a ditch or you've knocked yourself out, your phone actually detects that you've had that fall, and it will send a text message to your point of contact and drop a pin in their Google Maps and say, this person needs your help, and they're within 3 square meters anywhere in the world. And what I found really fascinating chatting to them was Apple told them they couldn't do it. Apple challenged them and said, no way you can do this. And it put them back launching like 6 months, because Apple said, no, we don't believe you. We're going to test this. And they put it through like a 6-week vigorous testing and then came back and went, wow, you've created something here. So we're happy to launch it. So it was a perfect fit for us. And you then couple that with Velo29, you've got all these riders in one place. And it's not just about that it's an event, it's about keeping them safe when they leave the event and they're training for the event and they're out with their family. And we just then get to come in and reward them with thousands of pounds worth of discounts on all their favorite products.
I mean, from an outsider looking in, I'm looking at what you're describing as your mission statement, and I'm looking at what Rich has kind of introduced to me over the last, few years. And I see an absolute kind of, complete similar outlook, wanting to get people on a bike, wanting to make it joyous, wanting to bring community out of it, and want it to be a safe experience and a fun experience. And I mean, Rich got me in 2 or 3 years ago with that in mind, because I can bring a little bit of whatever it is that I bring and that kind of thing. So it does look like a really good fit from where I'm seeing.
Yeah, and that was it. It was the same for us. I always got that feeling, having done the events myself as a rider, prior to even setting the business up. And you're absolutely right. It's a perfect synergy between what Rich has got and what he's trying to promote and what we want to do. And then you couple that with the safety, you've got this real cohesive partnership that for us, we see as a 3, 4, 5 year plan, because that fits with our plan of what we want to achieve in 3, 4, 5 years. So yeah, it's a perfect merriment, I think. So
I was saying to Joe on an individual basis as well on it, because that's important and to me, and I know it is to you as well, Dave. That as soon as we spoke, we got on, didn't we? It was there was never a question. Am I going to struggle to work with this guy or anything like that? And I think that I'm the kind of guy who what we do, I reflect in that a lot, and I know you're the same, and so it was important to tick that box as well for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you say that, because when we set the business up, we really toyed with what to call it from a discount sports network perspective. And we fell on network because it created this, again, that cohesive network of people and
community.
The partnership with community, absolutely. And the partnership with Busby very much started that way. We didn't know them. We kind of met at the cycle show, really like your product, like what you're doing. They wanted to create this kind of rewards platform within their app. And they would come to us and say, have you got any contacts at Halfords? Do you know anybody at SIS? And we just went, yeah, great, here you go. And it just, because it was this network of helping everybody out, it just came around that it went together. And we've been able to introduce brands to other brands, to other pro riders, to other sportees, and it works. And it's what I love about the business and our partnership with Busby, and now Velo29, to be able to be there and be at the events and engage with all the riders.
Well, that's a big thing, isn't it? Yeah, you're going to be there, aren't you? And help us to get everyone on Buzz, because we believe that's going to really help us in the events as well. So
I was going to ask about that, because actually, Richard was saying that, that's part of what you want to do is actually be there. I've been involved in so many events that you never meet a sponsor. You don't know who these people actually are. You see the name and that's it, and you're promoting them, but you don't know anything about them. And whereas it seems you guys want to be kind of hands-on, get involved, and meet the people that you're working for. Yeah,
and again, it comes back to the vision and the ethos of both Busby and DSN, is that it's the community piece. And you're right, I've been at events where you plastered everywhere with big sponsors, you never actually meet anybody.
No.
And for us, we want to engage with people and talk about the safety side and talk about the reward side, because we get told a lot that as a collective, people are like, it just almost seems too good to be true. So I get to sign up for free, and then I can save money on Le Col and Adidas and Nike and Reebok and Under Armour and North Face. And we're like, yeah, simple as that. It's about, we've created a place where the interaction within the app, we're drawing people into the app by saving them money, and then they get to see the safety side of it and realize that it keeps them safe. And we want to be there riding alongside them and talking to them and engaging with them. And we'll be there at the finish line with a big gazebo, giving out, prizes and stash. Everyone loves stash.
We do love Stash. Dave, it's been superb, mate, and it's really good to put a face to a name. Me and Rich have actually, this is our first podcast that we've actually done on video. We've been doing audio for the last 7
You're
or 8
very
months
honoured.
now, and
I
so
feel
we're really
privileged.
honoured, mate, because you're such a good-looking guy. You've got
Well,
the absolute
likewise.
perfect look, and it's been
Well,
a
next time
pleasure,
you
mate.
see me, I'll have a little bit of stubble as well, and we'll
Let's do
go
it.
for it.
Let's do that. We could be brothers in arms.
We could economise, couldn't we? And we just bring one of you in each other every other week. It would,
All right, behave.
with the beard, you know.
Brilliant.
Awesome,
Thanks,
really great to see you, and thanks again for everything, and super excited to be working with you guys.
Yeah, thanks again, guys, and yeah, really excited about this year and can't wait to get out there.
Super. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Dave.
See ya. Bye.
That was really interesting, and do you know what? I'm really excited about the partnership that you've got with Dave and yourself, Rich, and I think that's going to bring a lot of fruit and a lot of interest, isn't it?
It's great, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's a genuine benefit that people everybody will get. They'll get even more out of an involving Velo29, and that's cool. So yeah, thanks to Dave, and long may it continue.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, it sounds like a really good partnership. So we look forward to where that's gonna lead.
Yep, absolutely.
Brilliant stuff. So with regards to you guys, I mean, we talked before the interview about kind of how things are and events selling out. But where are you at right now? How are things within the company right now?
Busy. It's a time. Back in the day when we first started, you used to breathe a sigh of relief at the White Horse and sort of put everything away and then get it back out again in March. Now that's completely changed, and we try and get all the admin out of the way over the winter, so booking food stations, and then that's really hard this year. Headquarters changes, all kinds of different things, and the new ideas. If you want to do something new next year, you've really got to nail it now, because come February you aren't going to have time, and the momentum's built, and you're going to lose any impact of doing it. So that's why new sponsors and stuff like that always surface this time of year. So I've got a few new things that we're working on. There's another event niggling in my mind. Do
you need me to come up with a name?
Well, I think we spoke about it. I don't know if it was online or offline, but and I don't know if I was thinking climbs. We're so much about climbs, but to have an event that was, and I don't know if climbs is the right word, and I do think I did run it past you, but just bang together as many of our infamous climbs as we can, and have that as a sport. It'll be super tough. It'll be a long day. It'll be probably 15,000 feet like the beast, but over 100 miles, something like that. So it's going to be brutal, and it's niggling me. When I can't put it down. I haven't got a route fully in my head. I know some of the climbs I'd want to take in, and it would be a different dynamic to a lot of our events, because we've always said we don't have a rubbish route just because there's a nice hill. We have a nice ride and try to take in a nice hill, and if we can't, or a monument or whatever it is, if we can't, we don't. And I think, I'm not going to say this would be a rubbish route just taking in hills, but there'd be, you end up doing a bit of double backing or something like that. So you head out towards Rosedale Chimney and Blakey Banks there, and you really want to go up it, and on a map it doesn't quite look right. So I think we'd enter into that a little bit, but otherwise I think it'd be for the more crazy sort of climb focused amongst us. I think it'd be good. So that's bothering me.
Okay, so leave that there and see where it boils, I think is the word.
Yeah.
We'll let it simmer.
If you don't hear anything on it, then I think my wife taught me out of it or something like that. Yeah.
We should discuss it even more. It sounds like really exciting. Great. So lots of things up for grabs and lots of things happening. And do you feel like you need a crystal ball in regards to, how much prep can you do, not knowing about the virus and what's going to happen next year? Or are you just kind of prepared to say, I'm going to carry on and hope for the best? Carry on and hope for the best.
With the right provisions in place for, I think something will happen, like we have to cancel an event next year because of a local lockdown spike, something like that. I think is the reality of it. I don't think we'll be sat in March and all of a sudden we'll be watching Boris and he'll say, I'm really sorry, the country's going back into lockdown, you can't do anything. I just don't think that'll be the case then.
No. But there will be some kind of limit, won't there, for some time.
Yeah. I think so, yeah. So I think we'll 6 people a minute, 600 people an event, everything outside, grab and go at the food stops. I think all of that kind of thing will prevail. And arguably we'll do that anyway.
Well, I was going to say that the lovely advantage that you guys have is that you kept going during lockdown. As lockdown came through, and there were some events that you did. So you've proved to yourself and to the public that you know how this works, rather than companies that have kind of shut down for a year and then they'll come back next year. It might be a bit of a shock to them, because there will still be some kind of limit and some kind of restriction. Whereas I feel with you guys, you kind of nailed it, Yeah,
we climbed, we wanted to, and we did climb that mountain at the end of September. It was incredibly hard, but if you were doing it in March next year, it would be even harder. And all right, you could sit there and wait till the world's back to normal, but that might be years, or it might never come. So I don't think that's the best strategy. So yeah, I'm really positive that we're in a good place to get going next year. And when the worst comes, we'll pick ourselves up and find and carry on again the week after.
Brilliant. Well, this is going to be our first 30-minute plus podcast. So I'm up for it, but we normally only do about 20 minutes, but it's been brilliant, really, really good, and great to listen to Dave and find out more about the sponsors. So awesome. I'll say bye and look forward to speaking next week.
Say bye and wave bye, yeah.
Oh, we can wave. Oh, yeah, wave. I forgot that. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening and watching. See you next week.